Hello and welcome to the big picture. The developments in the 2004 Ishrat Jahan encounter killing in Gujarat and now the latest reports in another encounter killing of Sadiq Jamal in 2003 has caused a lot of concern about the way the intelligence agencies operate. In the Ishrat Jahan case, a senior IB official, now a special director, has already been questioned for what is seen as his questionable role, with some even seeing criminal intent. Two more IB officials have come under the scanner in the Sadiq Jamal case. Meanwhile, the conflict between the IB and the CBI, which is investigating both the cases, have led to serious concerns being expressed at the highest level of the government. The fact that senior IB officials have come under cloud for their questionable activities, especially with political overtones, calls for scrutiny of the functioning of these agencies. While some see a pattern in these instances, some see it as personal aberrations. Whatever it might be, time has come for what Vice President of India Hamid Ansari had suggested some time back, that of bringing all intelligence agencies under legislative control and to establish a system of accountability. We will discuss all this with DC Pathak, former Director of the Intelligence Bureau, Trinath Mishra, former Director of the CBI, Rana Banerjee, former Special Director RAW, Manisha Sethi, a social activist and assistant professor at the Center for Study of Comparative Religions and Civilizations at Jamia Millia University, and Ashish Ketan, editor of Gulail.com. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Pathak, it is not a very pleasant time for the Intelligence Bureau, it seems, because day after day we are seeing reports about the kind of things which have happened in the past, in which very, very senior IB official seems to be involved.
You see, let's keep the tenor a little professional.
Yes.
What does intelligence agency do? Intelligence agency handles information. It
Right.
does not handle action.
Right.
Action is handled by the police, and that's the difference which was the base of all the controversy we had on the NCTC.
Absolutely.
Where does the action lie? Now, if an intelligence agency releases information, it will not release an information unless it is internally satisfied of its credibility. It rather sit on it, then release an unsure kind of information. I'm talking not in respect of any particular case,
Okay.
mind you. Now,
Fair enough.
Now, therefore, the action is a different turf. Intelligence handling information is a different turf. Action turf is governed by, because it's an open thing, is governed by the law of the land, and whosoever is handling that would satisfy the law of the land, and any case would meet that requirement.
But do you agree that in the recent past, these two cases and in other cases, now there seems to be some kind of a conflict between the CBI and the IB?
No, why do you call it a conflict? I think it's a kind of a not settling down to the professional way of work. I mean, after all,
Who is not settling down to professional way of work?
No. The point is that in your turf, you are free to do whatever you are expected to do, right? And there is no conflict. Therefore,
So
in the area of action,
whatever happened in these two cases, you think was done professionally, which was it was, and then whatever inputs were given was done professionally, and what followed was what was done by somebody else.
An investigating agency has its turf. It can look into anything that is a part of the investigation.
There is no immunity for anybody.
No, there is no immunity for anything which is not in accordance with the law. Where is the question? But the point is that, we heard about whether the information was correct, questioning.
Yes,
and, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the facts of
Absolutely.
the case.
I mean,
a lot of things come in the media. But that's why I said, when an intelligence agency is the national level releases information, it's an intelligence may give direction of action, but does not dictate action, nor does it dictate policy.
Okay. Mr. Mishra?
Yes, please.
The intelligence agencies, Mr. Pathak, as he says, and as we all know, is expected to give information and not initiate action or not direct action. But in this particular case which we are discussing, apparently the person who was involved, who was a joint director at that time, is also involved in the action. though the reports are there that this person has denied during his during the the CBI when CBI questioned him. But the question here is that when CBI goes ahead and does this kind of a thing, CBI is being accused of some kind of a having some kind of motives behind doing this. There is a lot of now problems saying that the conflict between CBI and IB.
No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, this matter has gained some media popularity, which is very unfortunate. This sort of exposure shouldn't have come out at all, because the activities of intelligence agencies are very different from that of investigation agencies. I mean, they may not have many a time opportunity and time to test the veracity of the information that comes to them, or to carry out the verification. But at the same time, the information be of such nature that they must pass it on to the operating agencies, so that they are not in the dark, especially matters relating to terrorism and national security. Time is of the essence, and they cannot dilly-dally. Whereas investigation is based on evidence and facts. Right. Now, the CBI investigation officer must verify whether this passing on of information was deliberate mischief, or was it based on some source information. Problem with intelligence is it can be obtained from one's reliable sources, it can be obtained from casual contacts, it can be even motivated placing of information their way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But they cannot sort of sit over it. They have to pass it on to the operating agencies. Therefore, one has to tread very, very carefully and softly as far as intelligence matters are concerned, and one should not be led by things which apparently look to be sort of criminal or matters
motivated.
Of abatement and so on.
Mr. Mishra, the fact of the matter is that the CBI has gone to the Supreme Court and filed a report there before the Supreme Court saying that this person, they have enough credible information and evidence to go ahead and prosecute the person. Is this something which you think that the CBI is doing in a professional manner?
Well, I mean, I'm not privy to all the information that is with the CBI now, but to my mind, I think they should go with more discretion. I mean, they should be more subtle. I mean, there was no need to give it out to the media. The same questioning could be carried out properly on the quiet, and that would have been better. Because this sort of exposure definitely demotivates and demoralizes intelligence operators who virtually live in the world of shadows. So it's in national interest to keep the cover intact.
Mr. Banerjee, how do you keep the cover intact in this kind of cases? The Supreme Court is monitoring the cases. The CBI is obliged to go and report to the Supreme Court what has happened. How do you keep this under cover?
No, I think Mr. Mishra has a very valid point. The manner in which the investigation is done should not be leaked out to the media. And the controversy...
It happens all the time.
Well, in the instant case, I believe there was some access to grind and,
you think there were access to grind?
Absolutely. Because in the instant case, I am given to understand that person who was appointed amicus curiae was a police officer, but he had nothing to do with the investigation. And he started asking in the initial stages of investigation questions which were irrelevant to the particular input in question. If there is an intelligence input about a particular threat to a particular case, the relevancy of admission of that should also be valid in the terms of questioning. Whereas in the questioning, he resorted to all manner of extraneous questioning.
The amicus curiae.
Yes, who was a police officer. But then, the IB took this up at a very high level.
How does a police officer become an amicus
I don't know. It was under the suggestion of the court, and he was a friend of, he was known to the mother of Ishrat Jahan. So after that, the matter was taken up at a very high level, and this particular police officer was removed from the investigation. And the allegations are that he may be behind some of the leaks which have gone against the IB officer.
This is not just the case of Ishrat Jahan encounter, Mr. Banerjee. Now the report says that in Sadiq Jamal case also is there.
Yes. So in the larger
there
context,
is there a pattern to this? That's what I'm trying to find out.
I wouldn't think that there is a pattern. Of course, there is a problem. The problem is that none of the intelligence agencies today in India have a legal status. Now the need is that there should be a legal status to define the function of agencies. The moment that is done, intelligence officers would have protection for the legitimate actions that they would do in collection of intelligence.
That is exactly, I mean, that is the question here. Legitimate action. You think, Ashish, these were legitimate actions?
Yes, absolutely. See, we have a couple of intelligence officers here and a former CBI director, and unfortunately, though they have been saying in the same breath that they are not privy with the facts of the case, there have been misstatements made like a police officer being appointed as an amicus curiae. This is an absurd statement. A police officer has not been appointed as an amicus curiae. There has been no amicus curiae. This is a matter between an investigating agency and the court, and still we find on this panel there are officers, retired officers, who are commenting on the credibility of the investigation, on the malafides and the bona fides of the investigation. If the investigation is malafied, the investigation is being monitored by the High Court of Gujarat. The High Court of Gujarat will take care of the CBI if there is any malice in the investigation. The biggest question here is the IB, the RAW, the NTRO, the intelligence agencies of a country have been working in the shadows, to quote and unquote one of the panelists here. Why are these agencies working in the shadows? They have absolutely no business to work in the shadows when all the Commonwealth countries and all the countries governed by common law from whom we have derived a parliamentary democracy have legislative, judicial and executive control, have supervision of the parliament over these intelligence agencies. Why our agencies are above the law? And there are also suggestions on the panel which I find absolutely absurd and dangerous, that the investigating agency should treat a particular IB officer as above the law, as different from other criminal suspects.
Is that
why,
one second.
Why is there a suggestion that an IB officer should be treated differently from other suspects in the same criminal investigation?
I don't think Mr. Pathak
Mr. Mishra made the suggestion that they have been more discreet. What does he mean when he said
what do you mean by being more discreet, Mr. Mishra? How could the CBI have been more discreet in this case?
You see, the panelist who is so vociferously critical has misunderstood the import of my statement. I didn't say that they should deviate from law or they should go out of their way to protect anybody. But I suggested that there was no need to create this ruckus. In fact, that I would suggest in case of any other citizen also, because once you publicly paint a person in dark colors, then there is no chance of retrieval of his image. So you see, therefore, the investigating agency should be very, very careful not to bring into anybody in a critical situation or controversy.
CBI is constantly
see, the final truth has not emerged as yet. Only investigation is going on. So one cannot
Mr. Mishra,
be said to have acted criminally or so on.
No, I got you.
Once national agencies in this manner, would not help anybody.
Okay, Mr. Mishra.
If national agencies and the agents are working against the law, are involved in criminal activities, that is more deleterious for our national security than any kind of restriction.
Now, 2 quick points. One on the specific case, Mr. Mishra is saying that they should have been more discreet. But who's been planting stories in the media all the time? Not just today. Just the day before the CBI was to make a presentation in the High Court, the IB leaked certain kinds of tapes and conversations to a particular favored media channel.
On a TV channel.
Yes, and there have been planted stories going around saying that these police officers who've testified to the CBI have
David Headley had apparently
David Headley,
spoken about
FBI, and the girl was a terrorist who's been trying to vitiate the trial all along since 2004.
has pulled up the agency.
High Court has pulled up the agencies.
Yeah.
They've been trying to say that, oh, because she was an LET agent, so therefore fake encounter, no fake encounter doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
These are the points that they've been making all along. And now to, call the, I mean, it's just a little too much. But on more generally on the points that have been made here, the fact that, these national agents, investigating agencies, the RAW, the IB and so on, have to live in the shadows and they are not part of the actionable, that's not really true. What we've seen, coming back to the point of is there a pattern? Yes, there is a pattern, because those who are supposed to give intelligence inputs are actually complicit with those who are supposed to take action. We've seen that repeatedly, that there is a great deal of complicity in cooking up false cases. We've seen that when, JTSA brought out a report of those 16 cases, there was, one saw a great deal of complicity between the IB and the Special Cell of Delhi Police, where IB informers were framed by the Delhi Police when they refused to toe the line of the IB. They had been kept, detained, kidnapped, and kept in illegal custody, and then produced in a press conference and said, oh, these were, operatives of one terrorist group or the other. And the CBI, actually, again, the CBI had done an inquiry on that and found that there were phone call records between these two men, these two alleged operatives and the IB officers. So there is a pattern, and as Ashish said, there has to be an oversight. We can't.
Mr. Pathak, oversight.
Let me make
please respond to
two
this.
short points. One, as far as the investigating agency, what they are doing by way of action and the relationship with the court, there are no third parties coming in the way, right? And they will be able to prove why they are doing what they are doing, right? On the point which was made about the oversight, I think oversight and the way of covert way of working of intelligence agency, these two have their separate importance. Oversight, nobody is minding. I personally think that intelligence agency should move towards an effective oversight, whatever parliamentary or whatever. But this does not mean that oversight is needed to stop them from the way they work, the only way they work. So that confusion should not be there.
I'm sure nobody.
Put your operations
I'm sure
and modus
nobody
operandi
will
on your
suggesting
website,
that. But Mr. Pathak, I'm on a larger issue. The larger issue is the politicization of the intelligence agencies. Do you agree that the intelligence agencies, because of their proximity to the political authorities and the way they are made to work to gather political intelligence more than other things, are these some of the basic fundamental reasons in why we find these kind of situations developing?
I don't want to say after me the deluge, but I can say that when I was the chief, I would, I don't think this happened. And, participation in politics is different from taking an overview of the political situation in the country. Because, in this country, there have been subversive forces where suddenly the democratic setup is disturbed.
You can't call political parties subversive forces.
No. Why I am saying that an intelligence agency in India has to have a view on what is the state of the situation.
That is fine.
Because there are forces operating.
No, doesn't this give opportunities?
I mean, that's the only logic. It does not mean that I don't think intelligence agencies have anything to do with any party politics or anything.
Mr. Banerjee?
No, I wouldn't know about the Intelligence Bureau, but in the overall context, we have given a report in the IDSA where we mention the need to have legal status for all intelligence agencies on the pattern, the uniform pattern of modern democracies everywhere.
Yes.
The point which Mr. Khaitan raised. Now, once you bring in, accept the legal status of agencies, then you can also have concepts of oversight and accountability. And this can be of different types. There can be executive accountability, both within and without the organization. There can be parliamentary accountability, and there can be financial accountability. And I believe that slowly these things are going to come in.
Mr. Mishra, coming back to you and coming back to the case, there are some suggestions being made in certain quarters. There have been certain meetings which have taken place at the highest level that there's some kind of an immunity should be given to this to the IB officers. Do you think that kind of an immunity is valid or reasonable also?
No. Legally speaking, there cannot be any immunity for one's criminal activities. And personally, I believe that no such immunity should be granted to anybody, however big and small he may be. But at the same time, whether the action is criminal or not, that should be examined very minutely and carefully. Passing on an information which may result in commission of a crime may not be a criminal act in itself. And the person who has passed on the information should not be taken as conspirator or abettor in that case.
But I'm sure
that distinction will have to be made.
Mr. Mishra,
otherwise, you see, it would be extremely difficult to carry out intelligence work.
No, Mr. Mishra, I'm sure your own agency, your own former agency, the CBI, would have taken these kind of things into consideration before they made public about this particular person's involvement. Because do you think that there is some motive behind the way the CBI is operating in this particular case?
You see, I share your pious hope, but this hoopla which is coming up in media sometimes sort of makes me wonder whether there are other forces operating behind the scene.
Ashish?
I mean, I find it absolutely unfortunate that a former CBI director is making such sweeping statements about an investigation which is being constantly, day in, day out, being monitored by the Gujarat High Court, by two senior judges of the Gujarat High Court. The investigation and its progress is being monitored. As I said, if the investigation is malicious, if any of the actions of the CBI officers are malicious, the High Court will take care of it. And the case that I understand that the CBI is making against the particular IB officer is not just of passing on information innocuously, it's of engendering malicious information to cover up the criminal acts of the police officers of Gujarat Police. There's a distinction between passing on innocuously some piece of information on the basis of some state police agency takes action, but it's altogether a different case when the IB officer is completely mixed up with those police officers who have taken law in their hands, have become law unto themselves, have become judge, jury, and executor. So there's a distinction, and that distinction has to be kept in mind. The other thing the point that I want to make, there are some very hardworking, committed, and who are wedded to the constitutional values of a country. Those officers, they are there in IB, in RAW, in other institutions. What I find absolutely disturbing is that institutional integrity of institutions like IB, RNAW should not be mixed up with the criminal acts of some individuals. Why we are mixing up the institutional integrity of institutions like IB and RAW, the work that they do in national security, with the criminal acts, absolutely criminal acts of a couple of individuals.
One second.
Where is the question of defending criminal acts of individuals and mixing it up?
I think you have a very solid point. Mr. Pathak, you know, that's
I understand his kind of. The point is that I have said that between the investigating agency, the CBI and the court, there are no third parties coming.
Absolutely.
And they will sort of, they will find a way of putting up to the court what they
my question is following what Mr. Mishra also is saying, that there seems to be
all this talk of institutional integrity, I think institutions have run for decades after the independence, and
but these are very serious.
Anybody's mouth to comment adversely on institutional integrity and everything. Yes, we are focused on this case. The answer is that it's between the investigating agency and the court, because this is what the gentleman keeps on referring to. No third party is coming, and we'll wait for whatever happens.
Mr. Banerjee, you were talking about bringing in some kind of a system where legislative oversight is there on the intelligence agencies. And what kind of oversight do you think the intelligence agencies, these institutions themselves will accept?
No, they will accept, provided there is a political will to bring in accountability, bring in legal status. First step is to have the agencies recognized under a legal status. There are acts, the MI5 and the MI6 in UK, on which both our intelligence services are largely modelled. They both have acts now to govern their existence and functioning.
Right.
So whenever there is a law or a statute, then the question of the quality of law test comes in.
No, but how does that? How will that?
The statute
you think giving a legal status, you can avoid these kind of incidents which has happened? These are very serious. Here the individual is supposed to have, at least what the CBI is telling and what we have read in the newspaper, here is an individual who was closely connected to the particular government or whatever it is, and he was himself prepared. See the oversight, Mr. Bhatak, the oversight of the officer, some officer is placed in a state capital, he is issuing this kind of report. What kind of an oversight does he have?
I'll carry what my friend Rana Banerjee set forward by saying that I think we should move in the direction, because I think the agencies perhaps in today's world need a certain amount of protection, but this oversight does not mean
you're talking of only protection of the officers. What about the protection of people?
I'm talking of the functional protection, but two things will never change. One, you know, MI5, you know that the agency MI5 in its own judgment decides what is a threat to national security and it starts covering it. It doesn't wait for permission of anybody, right?
Does IB have to wait for permissions?
No, this is, I mean, this should not be disturbed, because otherwise the country will suffer.
Right.
And second, I hope in the name of oversight there will be no undue curiosity to go into the operational details, which of course will be
Manisha, last words to you.
It's the question of protection which is coming in. The question of accountability is still not being discussed. And as you know, this Manish Tiwari's private members bill is still pending. And for what we know, that the past 40 years, not one single private members bill has ever been passed in the Lok Sabha. So it's
but you know, there's a discussion going on. The Vice President has spoken about it.
Yes,
and,
but I think one needs a much more wider discussion, and I think this current situation should push us towards discussing that more widely, and there should be a serious attempt on part of the government and on part of political parties to make this an agenda and to discuss this in the parliament.
Mr. Mishra, last words to you. Do you think this kind of an accountability and oversight is necessary now for both the intelligence agencies?
You see, even today, intelligence agencies are accountable. They are accountable to their own senior hierarchy. They are accountable to the ministry. They are accountable to Parliament through various committees. So, what is the need of putting an extra rider on the same horse?
So you don't think
if the present system is worked properly, I think things can be taken care of.
Okay.
I don't see any necessity of having another overseeing body.
Okay. On that note, I think we need to end. Mr. Mishra thinks that there is no need for an oversight body, but the overwhelming opinion is that there needs to be some kind of an system.
Because a former IB director and a former RAW director.
There are differences here, but the fact of the matter is that there needs to be some kind of oversight. We have completely run out of time. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Trinath Mishra, Mr. DC Pathak, Rana Banerjee, Manisha Sethi, and Ashish Ketan. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another Big Picture same time tomorrow.